Looking at our passenger class, and what I'm going to focus here on is just the constructors for a second. So we'll assume that we have any fields and methods we saw in the earlier slides. And remember that we have a constructor that takes no arguments. We also have our constructor that accepts an integer, which is the number of free bags that we set. And of course, that allows us to go out here and do something like create a reference called Jane to a new passenger. And when we create it, we say that Jane's allowed to have 2 free bags. And then we can call that method set checked bags to set how many bags she's checked. Now, if we find this is a scenario that comes up a lot, where we create a passenger who has a number of free bags and a number of checked bags, it might make sense to introduce another constructor that allows us to combine those operations. So we can go ahead and create the passenger, and in one call say that they can have 2 free bags and they've checked 3 bags. Right? So to write a constructor like that is really straightforward. Right? We just introduce another public passenger with 2 integer arguments, one for free bags and one for checked bags. Now, one way we could write this is, again, we just make the assignments. We assign free bags into the field free bags. We assign checked bags into the field checked bags. And that would work. The thing is that we're now getting some duplicate logic, right? Is that assignment of free bags is now happening in 2 separate constructors. Now, in this case, that logic is really simple. But if time goes on and the logic around the management of free bags gets more sophisticated, we would actually have to change it in every place that we currently assign free bags. So it would be nice to be able to chain these constructors together. And it turns out we can do that. One constructor is allowed to call another constructor. And all we do is use the this keyword followed by the parameter list. So if we look in the constructor that takes free bags and checked bags, that line where we assign free bags, we can replace that with this and then our free bags parameter. What that'll do is then call into the constructor that accepts the single integer free bags and run that constructor. The one qualifier is the call to the other constructor has to be the first line in our constructor. So now when we create this passenger Jane, it calls into the constructor that takes 2 arguments. As part of that, calls up to the constructor that takes 1 argument, which sets the free bags. And then when that returns, we assign checked bags into our checked bags field. With multiple constructors, we may want to start thinking about the visibility of our constructors. Because just like any other members, with constructors, we can use access modifiers to control the visibility of those constructors. What that allows us to do is limit what code can perform specific creations. All right, let's think about an example here. Let's say that we introduce a constructor that allows us to identify the per bag fee for a passenger. Of course, all that does inside is assign whatever that parameter is into our per bag fee field. But thinking about it is that if the logic around setting bag fees is kind of meant to be part of our class, we probably don't want a program to easily go in and change that, right? Because we don't want Cheap Joe to come along and just create himself as a passenger where he pays a penny a bag. So we probably don't want that broadly accessible. So what we want to do here is that for our constructor that accepts the baggage fee, instead of being public, go ahead and make that guy private. By making it private, it can't be called from the outside. It can only be called from within our class. So maybe what we want to do here is say that, well, based on the number of free bags a passenger is allowed to have, we will set the baggage fee. The idea being that a passenger is assigned a certain number of free bags based on kind of the level of customer they are. So a customer who actually is allowed more free bags may also, as part of that, get a lower per bag rate for the ones they have to pay for. So if we look at our constructor here that accepts free bags, if we make a little room in here, maybe what we want to do is make a call down to the other constructor based on the baggage fees and pass in a different value based on the number of free bags the customer has. So what we can do here is call out to that and say, well, if free bags is greater than 1, they pay $25 per bags beyond the free bags. Otherwise, they pay $50. Right? Again, the idea being that a customer who gets more free bags also gets a discount rate on bags they pay for. So what that allows us to do now is have our baggage fee rate tied to the number of free bags a passenger gets. Right? So if we have one call here where we create a passenger Fred who gets 2 free bags, right, that goes directly to the constructor that accepts the free bags parameter. As part of that, it chains down to the constructor that sets the baggage fee. We have another passenger we create who accepts the 2 parameters, right, the free bags and the checked bags. Well, they'll call into first that constructor. That constructor will chain up to our constructor that accepts the number of free bags, which then in turn chains down to the constructor that sets the baggage fee.